CP3 back live in the lab. XFL DC Defenders Talk coming to you. Sports on the Hill podcast, episode 185 on True Radio Network. That was the Roots with I Will Not Apologize and Dear God 2.0. Had a little Roots block. Was feeling some Roots today, so I said I'd throw some on. I got to add some new stuff to the board. Like I said, I'm having some computer technical difficulties, so bear with me if you're checking out the Facebook live feed. You notice I don't have all the graphics and all the stats up. Hopefully I'll have that back up and running next week. Not sure what's going on with it, but let's go ahead and get into the week 5 of the XFL. Excuse me, along with DC Defenders Talk. Houston is looking to be the cream of the crop in the XFL. They went to 5-0, defeating Seattle 32-23. Seattle now drops to 1-4. Then you had the New York Guardians, so you heard Brian Brennan shout out doing NBA talk at the end of it. Guardians won 30-12 over the Dallas Renegades, which pushed them at 3-2. Dallas drops to 2-3. Then we had the LA Wildcats, who the Defenders gave up their first victory to, with Josh Johnson, the ex-Redskins quarterback. He had a hell of a game. He went 20 for 36 for 288 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. And their victory 41-34 over the Vipers, which were ironically the two teams that the Defenders lost to back-to-back that were winless. And they faced each other, and the Wildcats came on top. They're 2-3 now. The Vipers fall to 1-4. And going into the last game, excuse me, last but not least, the DC Defenders versus the St. Louis Blackhawks. DC put together a hell of a game, winning 15-6, holding down the BattleHawks way below their season averages. The BattleHawks were favored going into this game, but DC had something for them. Unfortunately, Cardale Jones got benched in the first quarter. If I'd have had the screen up with all the graphs and everything, you'd have saw that they still are going to go with Cardale Jones starting in week 6 as the starter. I like what I saw from Jackson. He's 6'7", but he's mobile. He was giving defense issues with the zone read. He wasn't, getting chunks of yards or big yards, but he was getting timely yards, and he was getting the first downs, moving the chains, keeping the positive momentum going. We've seen Jones sit in the pocket, take forever, and then get hit or make bad throws, try to force the ball in. I like Jackson. We saw him come in the last 2 weeks in relief when the game was already out of hand. Pep Hamilton definitely made the right call by bringing him in the first quarter and not making the same mistake again by waiting to the third or fourth quarter when it's 21-0 and trying to bring him in to, supposedly spark the offense or basically just stop the bleeding. And he had a decent game, nothing spectacular, as Robbie mentioned right before the break. I feel like Hamilton was coaching more not to lose than to win. But when you have your backup quarterback in that early, 9 out of 10, he didn't get that many snaps, so he probably wasn't up to speed with the game plan. So they didn't want to force the ball, throw the ball too much. They ran the ball very well. Jarrell Presley had the first 100-yard game in DC Defenders history. He had 15 carries for 107 yards, averaging 7.1. He had no touchdowns. Also had 3 catches for 12 yards. Also, the offense, like I said, with the backup quarterback, they were only, where'd it go? I thought they only got 17 first downs, which isn't bad. 256 total yards. 229 was on the ground. So they definitely ran the ball. We were talking about that 2 weeks prior when they were going on the road, that they were starting to get the running game going. That third week, they lost bad, but they did get over 150 yards. This week they had over 220 yards rushing. Also had a punt block, which was retribution because early in the game, St. Louis had blocked a punt and got a score off of it. Not a direct score, but they got the ball in great field position and it was a blocked field goal, my bad. Blocked field goal and got the ball in excellent field position and was able to get 3 points. Luckily, it didn't lead to a touchdown. I don't think they even gave up points on that field goal block, but they only gave up 6 points as a whole. So the defense played great. We saw the last 2 weeks They looked out of sorts, wasn't getting pressure on the quarterback. The secondary is like somebody was always open no matter what coverage was called. This week against a run heavy, I'm not going to say the coverage is fixed, but St. Louis is a run heavy team, and the way they were getting ran over in the 2 weeks previous against the two teams that were winless in the league, you heard me and Duchesne talk about it last week that we didn't have a good feeling about this game with the way St. Louis was playing and how badly the DC defense was playing. But they came out, they executed, they got 4 sacks. They held the they held Seattle to, I thought I wrote it down. I didn't even write down the total numbers that they wrote down. My bad. But they held them only 6 points. They one of the more proficient offenses in the league based off the run. Their quarterback had been mentioned in talks of possible MVP candidates. But the DC defense was stellar. They kept them off balance. They were getting constant pressure from the outside, from the inside. The corners were covering well. They were breaking on the ball. They looked like they studied their film and studied the tape and did a great job at shutting down this St. Louis offense. Then the defense has to echo that going into the next week. They're still tied for first over the Guardians and the what was the other team? Because I'm having to use my phone, I had all my notes on my phone, so that's why I don't have more stuff in front of me because my computer is acting up. But I'll definitely have better XFL coverage for you next week. Make sure you check out the games. I don't even have who they're playing because I had it all on my phone. But appreciate y'all checking us out. I'm going to end the show early tonight. I got some other business to take care of tonight. But as always, appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure y'all share. Let y'all folks know you got some quality DC sports coverage out here. Feel free to chime in. Oh, I do have a comment. What's up, E? I ain't even see you comment. It said defense stepped up and run game showed up. Very true, very true. Definitely needed that because the past 2 weeks was horrible. They said they should stick with Big C. They talking about the quarterback. Yeah, I agree. Jones looked. I say from the first game that they won, he came out slow. He picked up toward the end. And the second game, started out fast, but then tailed off toward the end. And then the 2 games on the road, I believe he had a total of 5 interceptions and no touchdowns. So, I mean, I'm not familiar with Pep Hamilton's coaching style. I'm sure he wants to give Jones as many opportunities to maintain the starter. But if he starts out again next week and gives up throws an interception in his first 2 plays, if he takes him out and brings in Jackson again, I won't be mad at him. But I would rather see Jackson start, get a whole week of practice under his belt, and get more familiar with the offense and see what he can do throwing the ball, not just running the ball and handing the ball off to the running backs. He said he holds the ball way too long, sort of how Haskins does. Well, Haskins has started improving towards the end of it because he started on the playbook. When he first got in there, he hadn't had any snaps with the first team, so it was all brand new to him. But Haskins, I feel like, is on his way to being a quality quarterback. Jones, I didn't follow him in college just like I didn't Haskins, but I didn't see any improvement from week 1 to week 4 and the 2 passes in week 5. So, I mean, it is what it is. Jones isn't as mobile. We've seen team blitz the defenders more. We definitely saw that last week with the Tampa Bay game because they blitzed Jerry Glanville's their defensive coordinator. He said if they get 60 snaps, he's going to blitz on 58 of them. So they definitely were blitzing, and the run game bailed them out. 229 yards rushing, controlled the game, controlled the pace of it, and got points when needed. They had Jackson threw for 1 touchdown to the tight end on a great pass in the red zone, which the team had been struggling to score in the red zone. Still didn't get the 1-point conversion, which is why the score was still 15. They scored a touchdown and had 3 field goals. So that accounted for all the scoring. But St. Louis only had 2 field goals, no touchdowns. Defense played well. Tune in next week. We'll break it down more. I'll see if we can get Duchesne on because I know NFL free agency is about to start. We're going to break down what's going on and when it first starts. Hopefully We'll have some breaking news, maybe a Trent Williams trade or something coming through soon. So stay tuned for Sports on the Hill podcast on True Radio Network. Check out sportsothp.com. Check out my YouTube channel, Silk Carroll Porter III, 3 Eyes. Check us out. We're bringing DC sports without the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. I holler at y'all. Hold up. Eric, what you say? True, I need to catch your next skin. How curious think about the draft. I'm not a draft guy, but I'm hoping Chase Young is their pick. We've heard a lot of rumors. I've seen some mock-ups talking about the Lions are going to trade up and the Redskins are going to trade back and get another standout linebacker, DE, that's in the draft. So, I don't know. I'm hoping they draft Chase Young because I've been watching footage. I've been watching tape, game tape, not just the highlights. And this dude is special. And with them going to a 4-3 base, Payne, Allen, Sweat, and Young, and then Kerrigan, possibly Foster, Bostic hopefully be re-signed. Cole Holcomb had a quality rookie season. I mean, they get a free safety and maybe a veteran corner. Hey, Jack Del Rio calling the damn thing, man. I don't know, but definitely can't wait to see it. Capitals still down 2-0. Second period, 1:48 left in the second. Hopefully they can get it together in the third. We talked about them being 6-on-5 and comeback kids. Hopefully they can get it together in the third period and at least tie this game up and get a point going into the overtime or score 3 and win the game in regulation. But I'm about to end this Facebook Live feed. Hopefully be back with the OBS and all the graphics. I had a whole bunch of graphics, a whole bunch of stats. But technology is what it is. But in this feed now, appreciate y'all checking us out. We'll be back next week as always.